Let's start, as we always do, by lying on our backs with the knees bent and the feet flat on the floor. So, in a pose we call effortless pose. Lying on your backs, your feet are hip width, your knees are hip width, but today I'd like you to really think about the position of your pelvis, because I'd like to work a little bit on creating some space in the pelvis. So when you lie down like this, observe what's going on in the sacrum and try and perhaps lengthen it a little bit towards the heels. And then building up from there, place the shoulder blades comfortably between the rib cage and the floor. Have the palms face up, soften the fingertips. And a final physical adjustment would be to make sure the chin is slightly dropped towards the chest. Now close your eyes. Close your eyes, and with the eyes closed, perhaps do a final scan through your physical body to make sure that everything does indeed feel effortless. Once that's done, bring the awareness to your breath. Simply observe your breathing, bringing a little bit more of the focus of your attention into your lower abdomen, into the pelvis, so that when you exhale, observe at the very end of your exhalation that there is a slow release and sinking down in the lower abdomen. And when you inhale, after the lungs have filled up and the diaphragm presses down into the abdominal cavity, feel how not just the upper part of the abdomen lifts, but also the lower half of the abdomen expands. And we're doing this without forcing, right? There is no tension, no strain or hardening in the abdomen. It's just becoming aware of it, really. And by giving the lower abdomen our attention, notice how the breath becomes a little longer when we exhale and a little deeper when we inhale. Now let's try and keep this lengthened, deeper breath going. And with the next inhalation, lift the arms overhead and extend the legs out in front of you. So just the full extension here. Have the palms face each other and flex the feet. Now, first things first, let's move the legs, the feet that is, towards the right side of your mat. Both feet towards the right side of the mat, bringing the legs back together. Then grab hold of your left wrist with your right hand and lengthen with your in-breath from the left hip, the fingertips away and over towards the right. Notice I've slightly shifted my shoulders towards the top right of my mat. So it's sort of a banana shape, this pose. You just extend and lengthen the entire left-hand side of the body. Imagine that your torso and your arms start at your left hip. Imagine that your leg, your left leg, starts at your left hip. So from that home base, we breathe in and we lengthen and we extend and expand. With the exhalation, we return our awareness to the home base, that is our pelvis and our left hip, especially here. Inhale, bring the feet back to the center, bring the torso back to the center, extend the arms out, and then let's do the other side. So now the feet walk towards the left side of the mat. You grab hold of your right wrist, and with your next inhalation, you're extending the right hand side of the torso and shifting slightly the shoulders towards the left, the head towards the left. You can look over towards the left side or up towards the ceiling. Really, the neck spine is not so involved in this, so keep it neutral or wherever suits you best. But then again, revisit that home base that is your pelvis, and notice when you breathe in, imagine that the right hip is where the expansion starts from. the expansion towards the right foot sole, right heel, the expansion towards the right fingertips. But when you exhale, you soften and you feel a release and a return to that right hip. Do this one more time, so really extend, expand, open up, and then exhale, return to home base. Next in-breath, return back to center, just level yourself out here, and then bend your knees, bring your arms back down towards the floor. Now, opening up the outer hip a little bit, with the feet bent, keep the feet on the knees bent rather, keep the feet on the floor, keep the shoulders on the floor, and then scoot your hips over towards the right side. Then extend your left leg out in front of you and place your right foot on that left thigh. We're going to twist towards the left side, so bring your left hand to the outer thigh, and then with the next exhalation, you're going to gently release that lifted leg, that lifted knee towards the left side. Gentle being the key word here, so really feel the twist happening on its own almost. There is no pressing down of that left hand. It's just guiding the thigh down. And then let the chin roll towards the right shoulder. And here, think about with your in-breath, drawing your right sit bone towards the left foot, so away from your face. With your out-breath, allow the right side of the rib cage to sink back down towards the floor. So you get a little bit of an opening already in that right hip, right outer thigh, very subtle, simply slowly warming up the body. And then inhale, come back to the center, bring the legs back to the center, right foot on the floor, left foot on the floor. You've obviously scooted your hips to the right, so bring them back to the center for a moment, readjust, reset yourself as it were, and then do the same thing, but this time the hips scoot towards the left side. So you're a couple of inches to the left with your pelvis. And then extend your right leg out in front of you, and we'll do exactly the same twist, left foot on right thigh, using your hand to guide the knee towards the right side, gently release and twist towards the right. And notice what goes on with that left shoulder. Allow it to weigh down. It may come off the floor a little. That's okay, but don't overdo that lift. And here again, inhale, left sit bone moves away from your face. Exhale, left side of the rib cage descends and lowers down towards the floor. One more time with that breath awareness where you're breathing in and lengthening the left side of the torso, whereas when you breathe out, you allow it to soften and release down. And then again, inhale, back to center, feet flat on the floor, pelvis back towards the right so that you've balanced yourself out a little bit here. And then we'll just visit our abdomen again, and hopefully the lower abdomen, which is really where I'm focusing today on that home base that is our pelvis. So with the palms down, arms alongside the torso, inhale, lift your legs, your feet off the floor. Now this can be a really subtle lift of the pelvis, or you may be able to bring the knees all the way towards the forehead. Think about where you can go with your in-breath without too much momentum, bringing the knees towards the chest, towards the forehead. And then exhale, very slowly, very consciously, we'll do about 3 of these. You're going to try and tap the floor with your toes at the very end of your exhalation, which is where your awareness sits just at the lower abdomen. Inhale. Knees, feet lift up, back of the pelvis lifts up, parts of your spine lifts up. And exhale, lower slowly with awareness, pressing the palms down, tapping the floor with the toes at the end of your exhalation. One final time. This can feel quite intense on the abdomen, so be gentle, stay aware of your own body and where it wants to go today, or not. And slowly lower yourself down again, toes tap the floor, And then let's draw the knees in towards the chest for a moment and rock a little from side to side. So we've got a little bit of a release wherever we may need it. And then from here, place your left foot on the floor and bring the right outer ankle just to the top of that left thigh. Knee moves slightly away, right knee that is, moves slightly away from your face. Now here, lift your head, lift your shoulders, lift your left foot off the mat and interlace your hands behind your left thigh. And then slowly release your shoulders, release your head towards the floor and just gradually draw that thigh, that knee towards you. Now keep the right foot flexed and push the right foot and the entire pelvis a little bit towards the left, so there's more weight on your left sit bone, left upper buttock, and then draw the knee in towards you a little more. So quite a strong stretch on the outer right thigh here, which is really what I'd like us to think about a little today, become aware of at least. And really with each exhalation, release the knee closer towards the chest without straining in the neck, without tensing the shoulders up, so keep the collarbones broad. And then gently release that left foot down to the floor and place your right foot next to it on the floor. And I'd like you to close your eyes here for a moment and just feel the difference. Notice that right outer hip, thigh, buttock. Open the eyes, let's do the other side. So it's the left outer ankle to the front of thigh. And again, you can lift your head and your shoulders if you need to find that back of the thigh. Left hand threads through the triangle you've created with your legs. Exhale, release down. And then gradually take your time here. This is a thick band of muscles we're stretching here. We've not warmed up that much yet. So give yourself a moment to just find those muscles and find the spot that feels the tightest for you. I think we have a tendency to lean in towards the left buttock in this case. Try and move your weight, shift your weight a little bit towards the right and observe how that deepens the stretch. And then exhale and release that right knee, drawing it towards you. And feel that big band of muscles again on the left outer thigh, left buttock. Feels great. And then slowly lower the feet back down to the floor. And just again, give yourself a moment to observe the effects of this stretch. It's amazing how much we can hold on to in our hips. You know, in a time of stress and, you know, there's a lot going on still, right? We feel that we can hold on a lot of tension and our muscles around our pelvis can tighten. So we're going to try and loosen them up a little bit today. Now, up to you. We'll come to sitting, but if you want to just roll over to the right and come into a cross-legged position, be my guest. Otherwise, have your hands out in front of you, palms facing each other, and we'll rock a little bit. So we're going to do about 3 rocks. When you come up with your in-breath, try avoid the floor with your feet. Okay, so you just go back and up. So a little bit of abdominal strength required to avoid touching the floor. Back and up. That's my 3rd time. Once you've done about 3 times, sit in a cross-legged pose with your right leg in front. Feels rather nice, that rocking and rolling back. We'll do it again for the other side as well. So once you've come up, right leg is in front. You're in a nice Sukhasana, easy pose here. Hands on knees. Lift your chest. Move your weight slightly back from the upper half of the torso. And then just close your eyes for a moment, lift the crown of the head. And then here, be gentle, walking your hands with your exhalation forward. Take your time. Once the palms are fully down, you feel that there's starting to be a bit of a stretch on the right outer buttock, right outer thigh. Just push back a little with your hands. And then from there, begin to slide forward. Now, you know, see where you can go. Don't force yourself in any way lower than feels right to your body. I'll sit upright so you can hear me talk a little better. So if there is so much of a stretch then that is all your mind can think about, perhaps you need to give yourself a bit of space, an inch or more even, and then notice how it becomes easier to release in that stretch. So just being aware of what you're feeling in the outer right hip, outer right thigh. Inhale, walk your hands back towards you, lift yourself upright. And then hopefully if you're still at the front of your mat and you want to do that rolling back and forth again, just let yourself roll back slowly and inhale, come up. Do this another 3 times. It's lovely on the spine as well and on the sacrum when you lift yourself up. So about 3 times, and when you're at your 3rd time, come into a cross-legged pose, this time with your left leg in front. So you end up sitting the same pose as you were, but the left leg is in front. And then give yourself a moment to again extend the spine from tail to crown. You can close the eyes if that helps. Keep chest, keep upper back nice and broad. Take a deep in-breath and then walk your hands out in front of you. Again, staying aware of where you can feel this pose. So by now, I can feel that the stretch in my left thigh, left hip begins to intensify. So I stop for a moment and push myself back towards my sit bones. And then from there, in a stronger foundation, my home base is completely planted and rooted. I can extend and go forward. And eventually, of course, slightly down as well. Soften the head, really facial muscles nice and soft. There is no strain in this pose. This is absolutely a nice stretch, but approach it as a restorative pose. So notice where the mind goes. If all it can think about is, I want to get further, then stop yourself. Be where you are right now. Observe it. Good. And then walk your hands back towards you and just push yourself up and come to sitting upright. And let's come into a table position now. So come up, find the table pose. Get your feet nice and far back and then walk your hands a little further forward because I'd like you to try and lift up into a downward facing dog from here. So curl your toes under, take a deep in breath. When you're ready to exhale, push your knees off the mat. Take your time, unfurl slowly. Ears in line with upper arms, tailbone lifts. Keep the knees bent to begin with. Really take your time to lift through the seat. Open the armpits, open the waist, lift the pelvis through the sit bones, back and up. Now let's warm up a little here. Okay, so inhale, come forward into a plank. Don't let the pelvis go too low. Nice straight line with your body. Exhale, down dog, slight bend in the knees. It's like a piston going forward with your in-breath into a lovely straight plank. With your out breath, you find your downward facing dog. And each time you do this, the body gets a little warmer and you feel a difference in the pose. Inhale forward and exhale. Lift up and extend. Right, now from here, we're going to look in between our hands and then with an in-breath, bring your right knee, right foot forward and step between your hands. So in the end, toes are in line with fingertips. Look ahead of your mat slightly, lift your chest, lift your sternum slightly so you don't feel like you're collapsing here. And then setting up the pelvis, our home base, draw that right buttock back, drop the left buttock slightly. Now, look at your right foot for a moment. I'd like you to try and scoot it a little towards the left, please. So that eventually you can come onto the little toe side of that right foot and let the right knee come right behind your right leg. So it's like a half or a quarter of a pigeon pose, if you know what I'm talking about here. And you're just letting that right knee slowly descend. Please don't strain, don't force, and then just look forward. Come onto the hands now, the palms of the hands. Look forward, feel the opening in the right buttock, right outer thigh. Lift your sternum, broaden your collarbones. Good, and then slowly bring that right foot, right leg back, find your downward facing dog again. Now in your dog pose, observe the difference between both legs. It feels like your right sit bone can go much higher, much further. And then we'll go to the other side. Look between your hands, bring that left foot in between them. Come into a lovely high lunge. Avoid collapsing. Remember, we want to keep the chest nice and broad for our breath to be nice and efficient. So open up the collarbones. And then let's come onto the palms of the hands. Scoot the left foot towards the right hand now and let that left knee come behind your left arm and drop towards the left side. So really give yourself a moment here to find the right depth for that left knee, but also where do you need to put the left foot for this to be more comfortable, for this to work better for your body. If it needs to go further to the right, scoot it a little closer to that right hand. And then look ahead of your mat, stretch the right heel back, and open the collarbones. Really find that outer left hip, outer buttock. And look down, bring the left foot back, downward facing dog. By now, definitely a little more space, perhaps even enough to straighten the legs, but absolutely not essential, okay? Now, from here, we're going to walk our feet towards our hands, and then our hands towards our feet, so that eventually we come into a standing forward bend. Now, bend your knees, scoot your seat back, fingertips on the floor, a little bit of strength in the quads here. Lift your arms in line with your ears. Drop your tailbone. Slowly inhale. Straighten up your body. Exhale. Release your arms out to the side. That's it. And then come to standing with your feet hip width apart. We're going to do a little bit of a quirky thing here to get to these outer thighs and buttocks. So cross your right leg over your left like this. Feet are somewhere hip width apart, but just the wrong way around. Okay. Now place your hands on your hips, elbows back, open the collarbones, take a deep in-breath, exhale. Let's bend forward here. If you need to bend your knees a little bit, then that's perfectly fine. But if you can keep them straight, because I'd like you to really find that outer left thigh here. And then once you're completely down, even if you can touch the floor, grab hold of your elbows and just make a frame for your head with your arms here and reach forward. Now, because you've switched your feet around, it may be a challenge, but think about it for a moment. Which foot is taking more weight? Can you spread your weight a little more evenly and then reach forward a little more? Good. Keep hold of your elbows. Inhale. Lift yourself all the way up. Tailbone nice and long. Exhale. Arms reach all the way out to the side. And then we'll keep the right foot where it is, and bring the left leg in front. May seem a little confusing. Sometimes it's good to cross-reference. It's good for the brain. Hands on hips, elbows back, collarbones nice and broad. Take a deep in-breath, exhale. Reach forward, reaching with your chin, with your sternum. And you may feel a difference between this side and the first side. Take your time, lower the hands down, level your weight a little bit between both feet, and then again, grab hold of your elbows. Now, we have a tendency to always grab them the same way. Do what you did before. Let go of one of the elbows and wrap the arm around again, so the cross has shifted, and then reach forward and down. Ears in line with upper arms, so you may have to move your elbows slightly further forward, releasing down as much as feels possible to your body at this very moment. If you need a tiny bend in your knees, you just find that tiny bend in both knees. Right buttock, right outer hip, Should feel a nice opening here. And then slowly inhale, tailbone long, lift your elbows, lift your head, come all the way up. Exhale, release the arms out, and then just place your left foot next to your right for a moment. Find Tadasana, just stand feet hip width apart. Build up the pose from the soles of the feet, through the quads, tail nice and long, pelvis lifted, belly button lifted slightly. Softly release the arms, crown of the head reaches up. Close your eyes for a moment and just observe, where do I feel the effects of what I've just done, the cross-referencing especially. Think legs, upper legs most certainly, pelvis, hips. And then open your eyes. Now we're going to use what we've just created. We've got nice strong legs, we're aware of them. We're going to do a Garudasana, which is an eagle pose. In an eagle pose, the arms go like this. So let's first build up the arms so we don't have to think about the balance too much. So your arms are right in front of you, palms face each other, left arm crosses over right. And then if you can, keep wrapping until perhaps the palms meet again, or else hook your fingers together or have the backs of the hands touching. All depends a little on the space in the shoulder. So that's arms set up. Now, bend your knees slightly. This is a bit of a balancing pose, right? But we've strengthened and opened our hips a little, should help us. Left foot is carrying our weight to begin with. Bend your knees a little deeper. Wrap your right thigh over your left, like you would sitting on a chair, crossing your legs. And then wrap your right foot behind your left calf. Now, as soon as you've done that, you will have turned a little towards the left. Square your pelvis with the wall in front of you. Lift your elbows slightly. And then, here comes the challenge. Bend your knees a little deeper, like you're sitting down. Really squeeze those legs together. Keep the pelvis nice and square. Now, lower the elbows and the torso down until you can touch that upper knee with your elbows. So now we're quite compressed here. We're strong, we're squatting. From here, this is an eagle pose. We're going to try from this home base, lift and fly up. Okay, so inhale, let your arms go. Straighten your legs, bring your arms out all the way up. Palms together, foot out in front of you. Exhale. Lower the foot down, lower the arms down. Well done. Quite strong legs and thighs required here. So well done if you manage to stay up here. Other side. We're going straight for it. Arms out in front of you. So this time it's the right arm that crosses over the left. Really squeeze them together as much as you can. And then find palm, back a hand, or feel that you can hook some of your fingers to keep the pose or the arms together. Bending your knees, because right arm is over left, left leg comes over right, okay? So right leg is carrying your weight. Get the weight into the right foot, lift the left leg up, hook as high as you can possibly hook, and then keep wrapping the legs and hook your toes behind the calf of your right leg. That's it. Lift your elbows up slightly. Bend a little deeper. As much as it is, harder work on the muscles, it gives you a bit more stability. The balance becomes easier the more we compress ourselves here, the closer we get to the floor, basically. So then find a deeper bend, really sit back and lower the elbows down towards that top knee. That's it. And then inhale, slowly lift your arms up, bring your left knee out in front of you. Have the palms touch. Exhale, lower the foot down, lower the arms down. Shake out the legs a little bit. Right, shaking it all out. Let's come to sitting. Let's come to sitting with your legs out in front of you and your knees bent. We'll come back to a stretch because we've really strengthened the thighs and outer glutes now. We're going to find Ardha Matsyendrasana, which is a beautiful name for this twist. So bring your left leg underneath your right, knee drops out somewhere forward right in front of you. Now, we're going to step this right foot across the left thigh. That's it. Interlace your hands. Listen, you may have to scoot that left foot a little further towards the right, just for both buttocks to find the floor. And then interlace your hands just below your knee. Lift your chest, broaden your collarbones, reach through the crown of the head. Take a deep in-breath. Exhale, wrap that left arm just below the right knee. And place your right fingertips behind your tailbone, thumb pointing towards your tailbone, and gradually wrap yourself around your spine. Now, as soon as we begin to twist here, because it's a stretch in the right buttock, we'll lift that right buttock up without even realizing it. So move your weight into the right buttock a little more. And then if you can, challenge yourself, hook that left arm to the outer right thigh and deepen the twist. Oh, feels so good. Keep weight in the right buttock. Relax the shoulders away from the ears and broaden the left one slightly back. And then exhale, come back to the center. The unraveling of the twist is where you feel its effect most intensely. Then place that right foot back, bring the left foot next to it, and we'll do the other side. So the right leg goes down and under that arch of your left knee. Let the knee just drop down right out in front of you and step the left foot in front, over it rather. Now, scoot the right foot a little away, create space for both sit bones to really find a platform to be supported by. Interlace your hands, draw the crown up, broaden the collarbones. Take a deep in-breath and then wrapping. We'll start with the wrapping action just to build up the twist gradually. Notice how I moved my abdomen past that inner thigh. Place your fingertips behind your tailbone and gradually deepen into the twist. Remember, left sit bone, give it some weight. That's it. And then hook. Challenge yourself by bringing the arm to the outside, and it allows you, gives you a little bit more leverage to deepen the twist, to revolve a little more completely around the spine, to the extent where the head can turn towards the left shoulder as well. Feel supported in the pelvis, and from that support, notice how you can open, twist, reach, expand, and exhale. Come back to the center. Unravel your legs. So just stretch them out in front of you for a moment and shake them out a little bit. That's it. And then let's come to the floor. End as we started, right? So find an effortless pose again. What is so nice about doing the same pose at the very beginning and at the very end of the sequence is that you can really compare. You can notice where there has been a shift, whether there has been a shift. Just feel. I can definitely feel a little more weighed down, a little more carried by the floor through my shoulders, but most especially through my pelvis. Revisit that breath where at your exhalation you really bring the focus of your attention in the lower abdomen, the very end of your exhalation. And when you breathe in at the very top of your in-breath, notice the expansion of the entire abdominal cavity. And then we're ready for our Shavasana. So take your time to extend the legs out in front of you. Make them as long as they can be. And then if you need to, adjust the pelvis slightly so the tailbone is lengthened, but there is still an arch underneath the lower back. Adjust shoulders, shoulder blades, neck, fingers, hands, anything that needs adjusting. And then let the physical body be. Allow it to completely melt away. So all we're left with is the mind and our breath. And really, we want the breath to lead the way. So just allow your mind to follow the rhythm of your breath. And your breath is natural here. There is nothing that you need to control. You just allow the breath to be natural, but also complete. And the mind will follow its rhythm. Just for a few minutes in Shavasana. Now slowly begin to deepen your breathing. Make the breath so deep that you can actually hear it, especially your exhalation. And then bring some movement in your hands, your feet, fingers, toes. Slowly bend your legs, one leg at a time. Roll over to the right, support your head with your right arm if you like. Stay there, just give yourself a moment to be nicely curled up in a comfortable, supportive pose. Open the eyes softly, use the left hand to push yourself upright. Come slowly to an upright position of your choice, really. I like to sit in a cross-legged pose, you could be kneeling. And then once you are sitting upright and comfortable, close the eyes again. Just give yourself a moment to observe the effects, not just of the physical, onto the physical body, but also on the quality of the breath. And also feel whether the practice has caused a shift in your mood, perhaps. Bring your palms together, place them to the front of your chest, and then use your hands with an in-breath to lift the heart. Breathe out, bow the head down to the heart. Lower the hands. Softly open the eyes, adjust to the light, and lift up your head. Thank you so much for participating and joining me. Namaste.